In the 3rd year after my daughter was kidnapped, Felix decided to stop searching. He said, "Fate decides life and death. I can't be too selfish, living well in the present is what matters." But then, his first love disappeared too. Felix's hair turned white overnight, and he ended up searching for her for 50 whole years. Living my life over, I protected my daughter first and asked for a divorce. To my surprise, Felix got a second chance at life as well. The first night he was back, he booked a flight and took his first love abroad for vacation. It took him 6 months to remember his daughter. Felix showed up at the school with a doll he bought at the airport, hoping to pick up our daughter. But she pushed him away without hesitation and jumped into another man's arms, saying, "Sorry, I already have a new dad." The news of Laura going missing hit just after Felix and I had a huge fight. He was gripping my shoulders, almost yelling. "Vivien's been missing for 3 years. We've tried everything, but we just can't find her. Life goes on. Can't you just move forward?" I slapped him hard, feeling heartbroken. "We're Vivien's parents. If we don't look for her, she's never coming back. Vivien is our daughter. She went missing when she was 5. The nanny took her out for some sun in the yard, and the moment she turned her back, Vivien disappeared. The nanny was scared and didn't call the cops right away, missing the best chance to save Vivien. Felix and I tried everything, but Vivien had vanished without a trace. This is the 3rd year she's been gone." Out of the blue, Felix said he wanted to stop looking. He hoped I'd give up too, look forward, and live a good life, saying we could have more kids. His cold determination made him a stranger to me, leaving me feeling chilled to the bone. Vivien was like a part of me. Losing her would be excruciating. I couldn't let go. That led to the most intense argument of our marriage. I loved him more and often went along with him, so Felix expected me to compromise. But I couldn't back down on Vivien. I smashed everything in the house and shouted until I was exhausted. He watched me like I was a fool, standing there unaffected. "Wendy, you're too selfish. Are you going to tear our family apart over a child we can't get back?" His initial guilt turned to impatience. Leaving me with those words, he locked himself in the room. The noisy living room turned eerily quiet. I sat on the sofa, staring at pictures of Vivien on my phone, tears streaming. Then a message popped up in our high school group chat: Laura was missing. Laura, the smart and beautiful girl, transferred to our high school and was an instant eye-catcher. Felix noticed her too. I barely had time to think about the message and our door suddenly flew open. Felix was panicked, calling her over and over with no luck, muttering, "Laura, please be okay." Felix was always cool under pressure. Even when Vivien vanished, he remained calm. But now, his hands were trembling. To Felix, Laura was someone special. I didn't mind back then. Felix was the guy I adored since we were kids. We were a perfect match, like a first love. I liked him since forever, but he was aloof. In high school, I gave up when I saw how he treated Laura. But when Laura went abroad, cutting ties with him, whatever they had died out. Felix was a mess for a long time before he pulled himself together, never mentioning Laura again. I stayed by his side, year after year. Finally, he confessed his feelings for me. We dated, got married, had Vivien. I cherished it all. Now I realize my life with him was a huge joke. I thought it was just high school nostalgia making him lose it when Laura disappeared. But he was so stricken by her being gone, he went white-haired overnight. Yet when Vivien was taken, he stayed composed, never showing a bit of distress. Turns out, a kid with a woman you don't love isn't so important after all. In the end, Felix decided to help the Greens find Laura. I asked him, "And what about our daughter? The one taken by traffickers 3 whole years ago?" Felix avoided my eyes. "We've looked for Vivien for 3 years, it's long enough. But Laura's just gone missing. We might find her if we try hard." Trying hard turned out to be a lifetime. I spent my life looking for Vivien, he spent his on Laura. Felix and I fought endlessly about it. I begged him to stop since Laura had her family and friends searching for her. Vivien needed us more. Felix called me selfish. Wendy, you're too selfish. Laura is a living, breathing human being. How can we just give up on her? Disappointment, bitterness, and hatred made me lose hope for Felix completely. In our old age, we never found Vivien or Laura. We lay in hospital beds, me with Vivien's picture, him with Laura's, lost in grief. It was painfully ironic. I wished Vivien hadn't had a father like him. He simply didn't deserve to be one. But then, I got a second chance. I found myself back on the day the traffickers took Vivien. I dashed out the door, almost sprinting, desperate to save my Vivien before that damn trafficker showed up. Luckily, I managed to catch up just in time before the trafficker got near Vivien. I scooped her up and shouted, urging the negligent babysitter to call the cops immediately. Having a trafficker sneak into the neighborhood was a big deal. Many residents, scared that the trafficker might have accomplices and risk their own kids, gathered around, waiting for the police to arrive and make sure the trafficker faced justice. I stayed too but spotted Felix rushing out from afar. But at this time, he should have just gotten back from a work trip, exhausted, probably catching up on sleep in the bedroom. It wasn't until the babysitter couldn't find the child that she reluctantly told me Vivien was missing. Felix woke up suddenly hearing this. Why did things feel off now? Could Felix have been reborn, too? If Felix had been reborn, he should know the most important thing now is saving poor Vivien, not rushing out like that. But there was no time for more thoughts because the police arrived, and I had to take Vivien to make a statement. By the time I finished all the paperwork and got back home, it was already dark. Dad? Vivien held my hand as we entered, then dashed into the bedroom. She adored Felix, loved clinging to his leg and calling him Daddy in her sweet little voice. But the bedroom was empty, and Felix still hadn't come back. Vivien was a tad disappointed, but she was always a good girl, trying hard to keep a smile on her face. Not seeing her dad, she convinced herself it was like before, Daddy had too much work. My book's not done yet. Daddy would be mad if he knew Vivien wasn't reading. She giggled and found a spot in the living room to dive into her storybook. The regrets from my last life make me reluctant to leave Vivien's side, not even for a second. Holding her on the couch, she turned to smile at me and gave me a quick peck on the cheek. Mommy, don't be sad. Daddy's coming home after work, Vivien will wait with Mommy. Perhaps it's due to memories of my past life. This man I once loved dearly, whom I spent half my life hating, now in this second chance at life, even if everything was back on track, I refused to wrong myself and my daughter again. Divorce was inevitable. But I couldn't reach Felix at all. His phone was always off as if he had vanished. A whole day and night passed, and I still couldn't get in touch with him. Did bad people take Daddy? Vivien, though young, was more perceptive than other kids her age, always quick to pick up on my emotions. She tugged at my skirt, looking sad. I bent down to hug her, whispering softly, "No, honey, maybe Daddy just got delayed by something important. But day after tomorrow is your birthday, and Daddy will definitely come back." Really? She looked at me with those big, expectant eyes. But the truth was, he went to see Laura. That evening, as I was reading a bedtime story, Vivien fell asleep in my arms. I picked up my phone and opened Twitter, immediately spotting Laura's latest post. A photo and a line of text. The photo showed a pair of arms wrapped around her waist, looking incredibly intimate. The text said, "After going round and round, I finally got your confession." On her right index finger was a scar. Coincidentally, Felix had the same scar. The comments section was filled with people congratulating Laura and her unseen partner on their happiness. The IP address below the Twitter post showed a foreign island. That place was known as a top couples destination. When Felix and I first started dating, he said he'd take me there and do a grand show of affection. But he was so busy with work, it had to wait. We kept waiting through our wedding, waiting even after we had a child. Year after year, just waiting for nothing. Now, Felix abandoned everything, to mend the loss he felt by taking his first love on a trip abroad, living it up without a care. I looked down at that photo, feeling nothing inside anymore. Maybe it was because I had become too disillusioned in my past life. After all the hurt, tears, and fights, when our eyes met, all that was left was disappointment and hate. I zoomed in on the picture, saved it. I was firm on the divorce, and I'd fight for Vivien's custody. I'd make sure to keep evidence of his affair so it would help me during the divorce, to secure the best outcome for myself. I sought out a lawyer to draft the divorce agreement. But with Felix abroad, intentionally cutting off all communication, I couldn't deliver the papers to him right away. I had to wait and inform my parents of the decision. As expected, the moment I mentioned divorcing Felix, my parents strongly opposed it. I didn't hold back, revealing Felix's infidelity. My mom looked at the photo, silent for a while. Finally, she looked up, her eyes filled with unspoken meanings. "Wendy, sometimes it's better to turn a blind eye, and life goes on. Especially now that you have a daughter, you should think about her and not be so selfish, alright?" My own mom, urging me to overlook my husband's betrayal for the sake of our child. Though I always knew my parents prioritized work and family interests above all, I never expected that even now, my happiness was not worth the so-called benefits from an arranged marriage. "No, Mom. Choosing to put up with it would be the true selfishness and irresponsibility. My life isn't Vivien's life. I can take good care of her, on my own. Whether Felix is around or not, it hasn't made much difference these past few years anyway. My Vivien, I do feel sorry toward her because I can't give her a complete family. But I'm not the one who caused all this. Why should I have to swallow the bitter fruit Felix sowed alone?" My dad got really mad, slapped me, and said even if I got divorced, he wouldn't let me come back home. "If I get divorced, I'll be Wendy with no home." I couldn't help it and shed a few tears. "It's okay, let's just say our father-daughter bond is over. Anyhow, divorce is inevitable." I left with Vivien and didn't go straight home. Halfway through driving, I couldn't hold back my emotions, found a quiet spot, parked the car, and broke down in front of my daughter. Vivien was really good. She unbuckled her car seat, climbed into the front, didn't say anything, just gently patted my back. When I looked up, she handed me some tissues to wipe my tears. "Mommy, don't be sad. Vivien is here, Vivien will always be here," she said in her cute little voice. I looked at her and asked, "If Mommy and Daddy split up, would you be okay staying with Mommy?" Vivien didn't answer right away. She tilted her head as if she was thinking. After a while, she asked, "Will Mommy be happy if we leave Daddy? Would there be no more tears?" I didn't know how to answer her. Barely holding back tears, I just nodded. Vivien immediately smiled, reached out her tiny arms, and hugged me like I used to cuddle her. Vivien wants Mommy to be happy, doesn't want Mommy to cry. Daddy's bad, I don't want him either. I couldn't hold it anymore and hugged Vivien tightly, crying hard. The little girl was smiling at first but then suddenly pouted like she was very wronged and cried in my arms. We were both so caught up in crying that I felt a deep pain in my chest. Vivien knows I have a heart condition. She quickly wiped her tears and started searching the car for my meds. But the pain was so bad, my vision started to blur, and I almost fainted. Before I completely passed out, I vaguely saw Vivien frantically grabbing my phone and trying to call Felix like she had seen me do. But nobody picked up. When I woke up, I found myself in a hospital bed. I was in a bit of a daze for a couple of seconds. Then I quickly sat up, looking around. "Where's Vivien?" I was really scared she'd get into trouble because I really couldn't bear losing her again. Maybe she heard me, and from the sofa, Vivien put down her drawing book and ran to the bed. I hugged her tightly. Vivien sat by the bed, her eyes still shimmering with unshed tears. "Mommy, you finally woke up," she said in a shaky voice but with a smiling face, snuggling close without another word, just quietly watching me. I asked her, Vivien, who brought Mommy to the hospital. Vivien counted on her fingers, like she was trying to remember. It was a really nice-looking uncle. Right as she said this, someone pushed open the door. The man spoke, "You're awake?" I looked towards the door, and when I realized who it was, I couldn't help but widen my eyes and shout, "Evan White?" Evan, he was also my high school classmate. But he and Felix are totally different types. Felix is distant, like an untouchable flower. But Evan is sunny, always warm and smiling to everyone around him. Not only that, but he was also my first love. Evan's grandpa adored me, joking about an arranged marriage between our families. But then I met Felix and was completely smitten with him. Later, Felix and I started dating, and Evan at that time got accepted to a prestigious university abroad and decided to study overseas. In the past life, Evan didn't come back. Or maybe he did, but at that time, my whole world was about my missing daughter, so I didn't notice much. So now seeing him suddenly is like a blast from another lifetime. You have a heart condition. The doctors always said no big emotional swings. Luckily, I was just driving by. Evan peeled an apple, cut it into little pieces, and put it on a plate. He handed a piece to me and another to Vivien. Vivien thanked him and gave him an innocent smile. "Uncle Evan, how did you know Mommy likes her apples cut up small?" Evan playfully tapped her nose and looked at me warmly, with a teasing smile. "She's been picky since she was a kid. You think she would eat them if they weren't?" Vivien shook her head, but at home, Daddy never cuts fruit for Mommy. It's always Mommy who does it for him. Hearing that, Evan's smile faded. He stared quietly at me, saying nothing, just looking for a while. "Evan, why are you staring at me like that?" It was making me uneasy. I pretended to eat the fruit, and Evan suddenly flicked my forehead. It stung a bit. "Evan, that hurt. I'm still a patient, you know." I couldn't help but yelp. With him as my first love, everything was too familiar. After the early awkwardness and surprise, we were back to our old habits. In front of Evan, I'm always bratty, intentionally teasing him. He would always let me. Just like now, when I yelped, he acted like he didn't hear it, offering me another piece of apple. "Don't get worked up, eat some more." I just took the whole plate and shoved 2 pieces in my mouth, unable to help but complain. Years without seeing each other, first thing you do is hit me, no explanation? Evan shrugged with a smile. "What can I say? I've always liked messing with you since we were kids." After talking, he turned around and said he was going to look for my doctor. I was focused on eating my fruit, so I didn't hear him say as he was leaving, "I can't stand seeing you putting up with stuff. Hopefully, you'll snap out of this lovesick phase." Physically, I'm fine. Once I woke up, the doctor checked on me and then sent me home to rest. I had already made up my mind about the divorce. The place where I currently live is under Felix's name, and I don't intend to stay here. I'm planning to move out with Vivien. I have a few places under my name. So, I let Vivien pick her favorite one, and we're just going to move there. Evan knows I want a divorce and that I plan to move immediately. Without saying a word, he came over to help, and within a day, we managed to move all of Vivien's and my stuff over. The new place is just 1 street over from where Evan lives now. Vivien was thrilled when she found out. "Do you really like Uncle Evan?" I asked her at night while I had her snuggled in my arms. She was rambling on about Evan. These days, Evan has been around so much you'd think he had no job, just showing up to bum meals. He and Vivien have become thick as thieves, hanging out after she gets out of school and playing like they've always known each other. They've even planned outings for the weekend, totally leaving me out. I was starting to feel like the third wheel. Vivien noticed I was feeling a bit down and quickly hugged my neck, giving me 2 quick pecks. "Uncle Evan is awesome. He's willing to play with me and he's super patient. Not like Dad, who's always saying he's busy. He didn't even come to my birthday yesterday. But Uncle Evan was there and got me the gift I'd been wanting the most. If only Uncle Evan was my dad." Vivien's voice trailed off, and there was a sad glimmer in her eyes. A child's world is simple. Maybe she isn't very clever, but she can sharply sense Felix's distance. And compared to that, Evan gives her a sense of fatherly love she never got. It just broke my heart. I held her closer. Felix really isn't cut out to be a dad. That afternoon when Vivien got back from school, she seemed kinda upset. I asked, but she was giving me the cold shoulder. Finally, during dinner, she opened up in a sad voice. The kindergarten is having a parent-child event, and a bunch of activities need fathers to participate. But Dad. I sighed and told her, it's alright, Mommy can join in too. But Vivien shook her head, still not happy. She stared at her rice, lost in thought, until the doorbell rang. I already knew it was someone here to mooch food. Suddenly, her mood lifted, and she perked up. Uncle Evan's here. She hopped down from her chair quickly to open the door for him. Vivien looked even cuter today. Evan picked her up and carried her to the dining table as if they really were father and daughter. I felt a little sour, staring at Evan. I went through all that to have my precious daughter, and she's closer to you than me like I had her for you. Evan's grin got even bigger, and he played along. Well, why not? Let's just say you were helping me out by having her. I promise I'll take good care of her. I quickly scooped up my daughter from his arms. In your dreams. She's my precious girl. Vivien squeezed my hand, doing her best wise old soul impression. Come on guys, don't fight. One's a dad and one's a mom. Vivien loves you both. Oh yeah, just the other day, I made them godparent and godchild. Those two got in sync pretty quickly, calling each other god dad and baby girl. Vivien turned her gaze to Evan again, and then suddenly asked, Mom, since they're both dads, can Uncle Evan be my dad and come with me for the parent-child event? I glanced at Evan, and he was looking right back, waiting to see what I'd say. I hesitated for a bit, but then I shook my head. I don't think that's a good idea. But all my classmates' dads will be there. You know mine hasn't even called in forever. Why can't Uncle Evan be my dad? Mom, I don't want to be that kid everyone feels sorry for because their dad doesn't seem to care. As she went on, my daughter got more upset and started to tear up, making it hard for me to keep my composure. Evan quickly chimed in, Vivien's my goddaughter now, and Felix is off doing who knows what somewhere. Why can't I go? Do you really want Vivien to feel left out? Of course, I don't. So when Monday's parent-child event came around, Evan stepped in as Vivien's dad and we both went to the kindergarten together. The games were simple. They tested how well the child and parent pair worked together, and also how much the parents knew about each other. For instance, what's Mom's favorite color? Evan, purple. What's Mom's favorite fruit? Evan, apples. What does Mom hate most? Evan, when people lie to her. Evan nailed all the answers in record time, and I couldn't help but give him a thumbs up. The teacher running the event had the kids' attention as she set up the room's mood for the next question. Then, she asked one last question about the parents. So, who's Dad's favorite person? Many parents answered with their children's names. I wrote down Vivien's name, figuring that's what the question was geared towards. But Evan's answer? He wrote down you. Me? I was taken aback for a moment, couldn't help but point at myself. The host smiled and said, looks like Vivien's parents have a really good relationship. The only dad who gave a different answer. For some reason, my heart started racing. Even after that segment ended, my heartbeat wasn't back to normal. Evan came over holding Vivien's hand. What's up? Is your heart acting up again? His voice was always gentle, with genuine concern in his eyes. I shook my head. Evan, why didn't you write Vivien as your answer? Evan's smile paused a bit and then he said, as Vivien's dad, naturally, I love Vivien's mom the most. So loving you, I don't see any problem with that answer. Problem? There's definitely a problem. My heart raced even more. In the next 2 months with the Greens, I suspected Evan was treating my home as his own. Though we were close as kids, always spending time together, we're grown-ups now. I've even got married and had a child, gotta keep a distance. Evan, however, was unfazed, earnestly rebuking me. Aren't you ready to file for divorce? Trying to play hard to get? If you're like that, I'm gonna lose respect for you. Wendy, if someone isn't right for you, let them go. No, it's just that I feel the need to avoid any appearance of impropriety. I never said I'd be hesitant. But strangely enough, Evan got all mad after that, took Vivien to her room, not wanting to talk to me at all. It wasn't until dinner, after much assurance that I wouldn't be indecisive, that he finally relaxed. Good, not beyond hope yet. Listening to him, I fake smiled. Evan, don't I deserve some dignity? Vivien sat between us, resting her chin on her little hands, beaming at us, eyes full of happiness. If time could stop at that moment, I'd have this illusion that this might just be the happiness I longed for. But alas, I still had to face reality. By the third month, Felix and Laura's trip finally ended and they came back home. Felix, just returned, suddenly remembered his poor daughter from before. So first thing, he went to the school to pick up Vivien. We bumped into each other at the school gate. Felix held a doll in his arms, the kind Vivien liked the least. Seeing me, he looked awkward and uneasy. Wendy, the company needed me abroad urgently, and I forgot to tell you. I shrugged nonchalantly. Clearly went traveling with a side piece, yet blaming work. Not a word of truth in his mouth, only disgusted me more. But whatever, once he signs the divorce papers, he can do whatever he pleases. Perhaps sensing my coldness, or perhaps feeling guilty, he anxiously tried explaining. I wasn't interested, cut him off. The time's up, Vivien's coming out. Felix finally shut up, awkwardly holding the ugly doll to greet his daughter from school. Vivien initially hopped with excitement, but the moment she saw Felix, her smile vanished, and she slowed her pace. Vivien, look what Daddy brought you. Vivien shared his blood, his own flesh and blood. Loved ones and romantic partners are different from the start. He could treat me coldly, but couldn't avoid feeling guilty towards his daughter. Vivien glanced disdainfully at the ugly doll. Previously, although Felix often got her things she disliked, for her father's affection, she'd accept them against her will, saying she liked them. But she's been with Evan lately. Evan never budged on who he was. When it came to likes and dislikes, he was always clear. For him, faking happiness to please others wasn't in his dictionary. So now, when Vivien dislikes something, she simply says it out loud. Vivien no longer cared about appeasing Felix's ego. She simply ignored the doll, walking to my side. Mommy, are you picking me up from school today? There was a hint of expectation in her eyes. Evan promised her yesterday that we'd both pick her up after school today. But then, the Whites called, and it sounded like something major happened. Evan rushed home, saying he'd be back as quickly as possible, but never confirmed the exact time. Just as I was figuring out how to tell her, Felix came over with the doll again. Vivien, why are you ignoring Daddy? This is a doll Daddy specially got for you. Do you like it? When Felix handed over the doll, a receipt accidentally fell out. I glanced at it. The purchase location was at the airport. Clearly, Felix only remembered about his daughter after returning home. Ridiculous. Vivien, although young and knowing few words, wasn't clueless about what buying stuff at the airport meant. But she wasn't stupid. She could see through sincerity and perfunctory actions. Vivien looked at Felix, pressing her lips, not speaking. I sensed she felt annoyed, wanting to refuse but hesitating due to Felix's feelings. She was torn. I was just about to reject it for her when Vivien's eyes suddenly brightened, pushed Felix away when he tried to hold her, and stepped back. I stopped liking these kinds of dolls long ago. Also, lying is not a good thing. I saw on Mom's phone, you were out having fun, not working. Besides, I have a new dad now. If you don't like me and Mom, fine, I don't really need you. With that, Vivien grabbed my hand and ran to the side. Turning around, I saw Evan standing by the car. He was waving at Vivien. "Daddy." Vivien ran over, throwing herself right into Evan's arms. She wrapped her arms around his neck and gave him a big smack on the cheek. Before this, even though she considered him her godfather, she usually just called him uncle. But today, if she wasn't so young, I'd swear she was trying to get under Felix's skin. Judging by Felix's thunderous expression, I'd say it worked. I gotta admit, watching that was satisfying. Evan, who can be a bit awkward, just held Vivien close and walked right up to Felix. His look was a blatant challenge. "My daughter hates this ugly doll you keep giving her. Enough already, it's embarrassing. Wendy, I think you owe me an explanation." Felix was at my new place, standing there all riled up, holding a photo of me, Vivien, and Evan. We took that picture last weekend at a picnic. Vivien had been excited about camping for ages, but Felix would always dismiss it, saying it was too childish and using work as an excuse. But this time, while he was abroad, he went camping with Laura instead and even took pictures. That day, I was staring at their photo lost in thought and didn't realize when Vivien woke up. She saw it. She didn't say a word, but her eyes turned red, and her pillow was wet. When Evan heard about it, he immediately cleared his schedule and took Vivien camping. We all had a blast that day, and Vivien's smile was pure joy and contentment. As my thoughts returned to the present, I looked at Felix, feeling no emotion whatsoever. "Felix, this is pretty pointless. In my past life, I was hysterical, looking at my reflection and hating the crazy person I'd become. In this life, I want no part in any of that drama, no arguments. I'd rather part ways peacefully." But Felix just tightened his grip on the picture frame and smashed it to the ground. "Wendy, it's only been 3 months. You're already tangled up with another guy, taking my daughter along. Do you think I'm dead?" The glass shattered instantly, and Vivien, who was doing her homework, started crying from the noise. I quickly went to her, picking her up, comforting her, and gently covering her ears. Then I turned to Felix and asked, "What's the difference between how you act and being dead?" I looked at him coldly, dropping all pretense. "Felix, you really think I know nothing? You think I don't know where you've been these 3 months? You missed your daughter's birthday. Skipped her kindergarten parent-child event. I got sick and was hospitalized, and you were absent then too. When we needed you, you were off traveling abroad with another woman. Then you come back, spinning tales for me and Vivien. Who's fooling who here? Felix, where do you get the nerve to question me?" Hearing this, for the first time, Felix looked uneasy. "No, it's not like that. I really had stuff to handle. Laura and it's not what you think. I don't know how to explain, I'm just helping fulfill her dream." He cut off all contact and flawlessly covered his tracks, but Laura's Instagram was full of posts flaunting their relationship, minus any photos of them together. Yet, each post revealed obvious signs. Felix's signature necklace, the red mark on his neck, and the scar on his stomach. There was so much, enough that Vivien recognized the man in those photos instantly as her dad. I felt disappointed with myself. My hands shook as I grabbed our divorce papers, and tears spilled over. But what can I do? I refused to jump into the same fire twice. So, I threw the papers at him. "Felix, let's divorce." Initially, he refused without hesitation. "Wendy, you're joking, right? Our marriage isn't just about us. It concerns 2 family businesses and Vivien. For the kid's sake, can't you stop being selfish?" Those words sounded awfully familiar. I remembered how last time, when I refused to stop looking for my daughter, he called me selfish. And when I told him to stop chasing after Laura, he said it again. It's laughable, really. Whether it's for me or my daughter, staying married to a cheater won't make things right. You're at fault here, not me. It was Felix who proposed, even with someone else in his heart. It was Felix who, despite the disappearance of his daughter, was preoccupied with his first love. Even though we were given a second chance, his priority stayed the same, Laura. I've signed my name on the divorce papers. He's at fault, and taking rightful claims doesn't feel greedy to me. It's all for my daughter in the end. Felix, if you've got any pride left, stop clinging on. Divorce benefits us both. Felix held the papers, looking a bit wounded, but I'd rather it be my imagination. He said, Wendy, we've been together for so long, can you really just end it like this? I mimicked his words right back. Felix, after all these years, were you really always thinking of someone else? He went silent. In the end, Felix signed his name. The Instagram posts were solid proof, no chance to argue against them. Cheating, betrayal, it was all set in stone. No point in dragging it out and embarrassing both of us. Felix is a businessman, he gets that. After the divorce, I felt surprisingly light. Leaving the marriage office, I made sure to dress up, planning to celebrate a new start. But before I could turn away, Felix grabbed my wrist and said, Wendy, no matter what, we were married for 7 years. And Vivien, she's always been my most beloved daughter. If you need anything in the future, you can come to me. No need, she has me, I replied. Before Felix could finish, Evan showed up with Vivien out of nowhere. He pulled me over, and I stumbled straight into his arms. Vivien covered her eyes with her little hands, but peeked through her fingers with a big grin, looking delighted. Felix had a look I couldn't quite decipher, something complicated and unwilling in his eyes. Evan, this is a family matter, Felix started. What family matter? Evan interrupted him without hesitation. Is it leaving your wife and daughter behind while traveling abroad with another woman? Or being invisible when your wife and daughter need you? If that's what you call family matters, then sorry, as an outsider, I have no respect for that. With that, Evan punched Felix right in the face. Evan, are you crazy? Why did you hit him? I scolded him while applying ointment to his wounds. That punch landed at the entrance of the Civil Affairs office, leaving Felix stunned for a moment before he retaliated. Both of them knew how to box since they were young, and they didn't hold back. I couldn't get in between them while holding my daughter, so I had to watch as they fought until they were both battered and bloodied. The staff inside the office noticed the commotion and rushed out to break up the fight, and even they got caught in the middle by accident. Eventually, both of them ended up at the police station. I had no choice but to bail Evan out. As for Felix, since we're divorced, anything related to him is no longer my concern. Bailing him out isn't something I need to do. I couldn't stand him bullying you, Evan said, looking beat up, with heavy bruising around his eye and a cut lip. But Felix looked worse, covered in blood. Even if you couldn't stand it, there was no need to fight him, I said. Are you worried about him? Evan's eyes dimmed for a moment. I pressed a bit harder on one of his cuts, making him yelp, then said, I just think dirtying your hands over someone like that isn't worth it. Evan's smile returned, and he shook his head lightly. No, for you, it was worth it. The cotton swab slipped from my hand onto the floor. My heart started beating faster. His words struck me, making me wonder if it was just my imagination. I didn't know how to respond, so I kept quiet and continued tending to his injuries. The air turned still and strangely silent. Finally, Evan couldn't stay quiet. He grasped my hand, forcing me to look at him, his eyes serious. Wendy, you know what I mean, right? He asked. Did I know? Maybe a little. But. Evan, I've been married and divorced, taking nearly 10 years to realize I was blind to love the wrong person. I have a daughter, and she's my top priority. I won't let anything hurt her or separate her from me. Do you understand? The world isn't fair. People would say a divorced woman with a child doesn't match someone successful and handsome. My daughter comes first, and she won't be compromised. I thought my words would make Evan back off, but instead, he became more earnest. So what if you were married? It was Felix who was wrong. You never wronged him. And Vivien, she's adorable. She calls me Dad. She's your daughter, and she'll be the one I cherish the most too. No one will hurt her, I promise. So, do you understand me? I didn't know if I understood, but I ended up leaving quickly, feeling overwhelmed. What Evan said took me by surprise. I wasn't ready and couldn't give him an answer right away. He knew that, so he gave me space and didn't reach out for a week, letting me think. Meanwhile, Felix officially announced his relationship with Laura after our divorce. They flaunted their affection on Twitter. Laura, who pretended to accidentally post those photos earlier, now blatantly sent me pictures and warnings. Felix is my boyfriend now. Even if you have a daughter together, make sure you don't overstep. Don't be the other woman. She messaged. I shot back, oh, so you do know being the other woman is pretty shameless? She got so angry she blocked me. That was fine by me. In the months that followed, I didn't keep up with Felix's life. I focused on my own. Friends would mention them from time to time, initially upset on my behalf, saying they were flaunting their relationship to spite me. Then later, they'd say the couple began fighting over trivial matters. But I didn't care anymore. I was still sorting through my own feelings and couldn't respond. Evan had to fly overseas for a work emergency, and he was gone for several months. I suspected he avoided me on purpose. Vivien was so distraught she barely ate or slept. After school, she'd call Evan to share everything that happened, and he always listened intently. 3 months went by, and Evan returned with a suitcase full of toys, all of them ones Vivien loved. The moment he saw me, he skipped all the small talk and got straight to the point. Wendy, I gave you 3 months to think about it. Do you have an answer for me now? I looked down and hesitated to respond. I honestly had no idea how to address Evan's feelings. After all, I had just walked away from a failed marriage, and I wasn't sure if what lay ahead was a clear path or another abyss. I'm scared, I'm really scared. But I didn't hesitate for too long. I took Vivien shopping at the mall to buy clothes, and she pulled out her New Year's money, saying she wanted to pick out a gift for Evan. She held on to Evan, refusing to let go. In the end, the three of us went shopping together. Just our luck, I happened to see Felix in the mall, with Laura by his side. They were in a children's clothing store, and Felix had a pretty little dress in his hands that seemed to be meant for Vivien. Laura looked unhappy. She snatched the dress from Felix and threw it to the ground. Even from a couple of stores away, I could hear their argument. Felix, get it straight, you're divorced from Wendy. The kid is hers, you don't have to buy Vivien clothes every time we come out shopping. Laura was furious, her pretty face twisting in anger. Once inseparable, they now fought fiercely enough. And Felix wasn't backing down like I'd imagined. The deep affection I once saw in his eyes was fading, replaced by impatience as he snapped back, so what if we're divorced? Vivien's still my daughter. I wouldn't have left her fatherless if it weren't for wanting to be with you. I'm only trying to make it up to her, don't be so selfish. Selfish? Laura pointed at herself and then laughed outright. Felix, who's really selfish here? I was ready to give up on you when you came storming overseas, confessing how I was your true love, convincing me to be with you despite the mistress label. Now that you're divorced, you're all about Wendy and Vivien again, sneaking off to look at their photos every night. What am I to you? Her voice was so loud. Not just me, but others in the mall couldn't help but stop and look, curiosity in their eyes. Felix had always been about appearances. Seeing the eyes on them, he abandoned the dress idea, pulling Laura to leave. But Laura wasn't having it and shoved him away, demanding a choice. Felix, I want you to make it clear today. Do you want to be with me, or go back to your ex-wife and create a family for your precious daughter? Make it clear, make it clear. How do you want me to explain this again? He shouted. I've said it 1,000,000 times, Wendy and I are divorced, but Vivien is my own blood. I can't just ignore her, why do you insist on making it hard, forcing little Vivien to lose any sense of family she has left? The showdown ended with Laura slapping him in front of everyone. With his face darkened, Felix turned to leave, only to lock eyes with me for a brief moment. No words were exchanged, maybe he felt ashamed. His gaze met mine for a second before he turned away without hesitation. Evan took me and Vivien to the children's store and picked out a dozen dresses she loved. "I'll get these for you from now on. We don't need his stuff." Evan pinched Vivien's cheek gently, ensuring there was no rejection in her eyes, and then bought even more dresses. When we got home, I immediately noticed Felix sitting in the hallway, drunk. The slap mark on his face was still clear. Vivien was asleep in my arms. I hadn't let Evan drive us back since he had work in the morning and needed rest. I opened the door and put Vivien in her little bed. Felix was standing at the door, reeking of alcohol, eyes staring at me with a strange grievance. "Anything you need?" I said coldly, making the grievance in his eyes more evident. "You used to make me ginger tea whenever I drank too much. You've never talked to me like this before." He spoke, hurt and maybe a bit resentful. But my speaking up proved he only ever wasted my kindness, didn't it? Maybe my tone was so icy that it penetrated his alcohol-clouded mind into some clarity. I tried to close the door, but he held it open, looking confused. "Wendy, if I hadn't agreed to the divorce, would we still be a happy family like before? There is no if in this world. As long as you're you, there could never be another outcome. It's like a dog not changing its habit of eating filth. Felix can never suppress his restless heart. He's always longing for what he can't have. That's why in his past life, he could chase Laura for 50 years, and in this life, express regret just because I refused reconciliation through divorce. Either way, it just disgusts me. His heart is greedy, wanting everything and getting nothing." Later that night, Vivien came down with a high fever, her body burning fiercely. She even started convulsing. I rushed to take her to the hospital, but right outside the community, I saw Evan sitting by the flower bed, lost in thought. He noticed me and the unconscious Vivien immediately. I was so anxious that my hands were shaking, unable to drive properly. "It's okay, Wendy. Kids get fevers often. I'll take her to the hospital now. Don't worry, and don't cry. Vivien will definitely be fine." Evan reassured me, quickly driving us to the hospital. Fortunately, Vivien was all right. It was just a viral infection that came on suddenly, and she needed careful attention moving forward. After talking to the doctor, I finally took a deep breath. Evan was running around all night. He put Vivien to sleep and asked me to rest on the hospital bed next to her. He stayed up with the kid all night. We had agreed to take turns, but when I woke up, the sun was already shining bright. He had dark circles under his eyes and yawned, covering his mouth. When he saw I was awake, he whispered, "Why don't you sleep a little longer? I'll go grab breakfast." "What do you want?" Evan's voice was really gentle. So gentle that I impulsively blurted out, "Evan, let's give this a try. Even if it becomes a mess, I guess I'm just not meant for happiness." Once we were officially a couple, Evan was like a peacock showing off. He wanted to declare it on Twitter immediately. He even moved in right away. Fortunately, the house Vivien picked was big enough. There were plenty of rooms for him to choose from. On Evan's first day moving in, Vivien was thrilled and immediately pulled out her phone, wanting to take a family photo. 5 minutes after the photo was posted, a call came from an unknown number. But I was in the shower at the time, and my phone was in the living room, so Evan answered it. I could vaguely hear him talking. "Looking for Wendy? She's in the shower. She's really tired. Try calling tomorrow." Yeah, I was tired. Vivien had been full of energy, dragging me around all day. My bones felt like they were falling apart. After the shower, Evan handed my phone back, looking grumpy. He called. "Oh, Felix. No need to return that call." I just tossed the phone onto the couch and went back to the bedroom to dry my hair. Half an hour later, the food I ordered arrived at the door. While I was grabbing it, someone grabbed my wrist. "Wendy, are you with Evan?" Felix immediately started questioning. I shook his hand off forcefully. "What does it matter to you who I'm with?" He frowned, looking completely confused. We only got divorced less than 6 months ago, and now you're with someone else? You used to love me so much. You said you'd never marry anyone else. We even had Vivien. Can you just fall in love like that? Did you really ever love me? Felix. I couldn't help but shout. I've always known you were selfish. But I didn't expect you to twist things so much. You cheated first, and now you're attacking me? Yes, I'm with Evan. We're open and honest about it. Felix kept pushing. You were with me for 10 years and we had a child. How can he not mind? How can he truly care for Vivien? I couldn't hold back and slapped him. Just because you're dirty doesn't mean everyone else is too. Evan is different. He really loves me and, because of that, cares about who I care about. Evan once told me, Wendy, Vivien is your daughter. I love you, so I'll love who you love. Felix fell silent, leaning against the wall with his shoulders slumped. After a while, he spoke so softly I almost couldn't hear. If I regret it, will you give me another chance? I told him straight, don't embarrass yourself. A month later, I heard Felix and Laura's happy news since it had been more than 6 months since our divorce. The Booths wanted a new daughter-in-law and a grandchild. The night before their wedding, Felix sent me a long message. I didn't really read it. The gist was he missed our life together and our well-behaved daughter. If I was willing, he'd get back together with me to take care of Vivien. I didn't reply because it wasn't necessary. But they were married and then divorced in less than a month. Laura was always sensitive and could blow any small issue out of proportion. And with Felix's guilt, always wanting to see Vivien, their arguments were inevitable. The more in love they were before, the more they fought now. But that had nothing to do with me. I'm getting married to Evan. But on the wedding day, Laura stormed in, wearing a white dress. She barged in front of the makeup mirror, trying to hit me. Evan immediately stood in front of me, protecting me. Wendy, how can you be so shameless? You divorced Felix, yet you keep him thinking about that little brat. If it weren't for you, Felix and I wouldn't have split. She was good at turning things around, just like Felix. You were the one being the other woman during my marriage with Felix. After we divorced, I barely contacted him. Your relationship troubles only prove your love isn't strong enough. Laura, what's so great about you? You storm in here, just upset because you can't stand seeing me happy. You're miserable and ugly, and you want everyone to be as unlucky as you. But why should they? You crossed moral lines and deserve the consequences. The more you rant, the more people will see that you're getting what you deserve. I yelled back fiercely. She, in her anger, tried to hit me again, but Evan kept shielding me. She couldn't touch me at all. Felix hurriedly arrived after hearing the commotion. He pulled Laura away with impatience in his eyes. What are you doing? If you weren't paranoid all the time, we wouldn't be in this mess. And now you're going after Wendy? What right do you have? You chose to be the other woman, don't forget that. His words were harsh. Felix was always cold and unfeeling. Fortunately, I got out in time. Otherwise, it would have been sad. After that, Felix turned to look at me. By then, I was dressed in my wedding gown, the beautiful bride. His eyes glimmered with something unreadable. With lips pressed, looking a bit sad, Wendy, have you really made up your mind? I didn't respond, but the wide smile on my face said it all. He continued, if I took you away now, would you run off with me? Evan looked furious, his fists clenched tight. If I hadn't stopped him, he would have punched Felix. I stepped closer and whispered, just for him to hear, in our past life, you made me feel utterly disgusted. In this life, since we both got a second chance, let's keep our distance. Felix, do you really want to throw away your last shred of dignity? He froze, shocked. I ignored him and headed to the wedding venue. It was almost time. So, I didn't know that after my words, a devastated Felix staggered out of the hotel, like he'd lost his spirit. But Laura didn't leave. filled with pent-up frustration, she started hitting him. They got all tangled up, wrestling and fighting. At the roadside, someone must have lost their footing, and they both tumbled down the steps. An SUV sped by. I didn't know any of this yet. Right now, I was feeling a bit nervous. The doors swung open, and there was Evan smiling at me from down the corridor. My daughter dressed as a flower girl. Holding my hand, she guided me step by step towards Evan. Towards true happiness. Vivien's epilogue. What if I told you that I actually got a second chance at life, like in the TV shows? Isn't that kind of shocking? That high fever I had. It brought back so many memories. I was 5, but had the memories of a 16-year-old. Why 16? Because in my past life. That's how long I lived. Looking back, that terrible human trafficker sold me to a family that couldn't have kids. But not even a year later, they had their own baby. They didn't want me anymore. So they abandoned me. I don't remember the details clearly. All I know is I was sold again. Over and over, I was sold off. Whether it was breaking my limbs, to make me beg on the streets, or forcing me to do things I didn't want to do. It was all so painful. I remember where home was. I remember my mom and dad's names. I remember the happiness and warmth I once felt. I remember everything. But there were always people watching. I never found a chance to escape. Yet fate did give me one chance. Before the last time I was sold, I saw my dad on the street. He looked so worn out, I thought it was because of my disappearance. As he walked by, I screamed out. But he didn't recognize me. He didn't recognize me. He even kicked me, saying I'd dirted his pants. He said, "This is a gift from Laura, you little beggar, don't touch me." Who was Laura? I don't know. I only saw the missing persons poster he held. The photo and name weren't mine. I was not who he was looking for. My tongue had been cut out, I couldn't speak, just made noises. It only earned me his disgust. And the trafficker's anger. My luck ran out. I was sold off to some mountain village, to be an old man's wife. 16, a young, blooming age. But I died, bleeding to death giving birth. It hurt so much. So when I realized I was reborn, I was overjoyed. But also really sad. I knew my mom never gave up on me. And I knew my dad's heart belonged to another woman. But Uncle Evan's presence brought happiness within reach. Dad may not have been a great dad, but Uncle Evan could give Mom the happiness she deserved and be a father to me. Suddenly, I felt lucky. At least this time around. I could have a complete and happy family. Me, Mom, and also Dad. We'll all be happy.